It's Fight News Now Extra. My name is John Pollock, and this is where you get caught up on all of the news in mixed martial arts. Robin Black will be here in just a couple of minutes as we discuss a light heavyweight fight in the works for the fall. Halifax has a new main event for October, and Jon Jones gets cut, but not from the UFC. UFC light heavyweight champion Jon Jones posted on Instagram a pair of videos showcasing a cut he sustained above his left eye, which according to Jones came during a sparring session where he wasn't wearing any headgear. The cut required 4 stitches, which should be removed by early next week and will have zero impact on his September 27th bout with Daniel Cormier at UFC 178.
So you want to take a look at it yourself? You see that?
Oh boy.
Yeah. Too hard.
Am I still beautiful?
Saffiedine was aiming high and has landed one of the top welterweights in the division, as Saffiedine and MacDonald will headline the UFC's first card in Halifax, Nova Scotia on October the 4th. Saffiedine has been thrashed with injuries since coming over from Strikeforce last year, having his first and only UFC bout this past January when he defeated Hyun-Gyu Lim. MacDonald has rebounded from his loss to Robbie Lawler last November with impressive wins over Damian Maia and Tyron Woodley to put him right near the top of the division. And Combat out of Brazil is reporting that Glover Teixeira has verbally agreed to a bout with Phil Davis for October the 25th in Rio de Janeiro at UFC 179 in a light heavyweight bout. Teixeira will be looking to rebound from his unsuccessful challenge of Jon Jones at UFC 172 in April, which was the same card where Anthony Johnson defeated Phil Davis. And I'm here with Robin Black. Many topics to discuss. We have a potential fight in Phil Davis, Glover Teixeira. We have a definite fight in Rory MacDonald and Saffiedine. And we have a cut to talk about involving Jon Jones and his eye. The man knows how to use Instagram because he'd post something, place goes crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting because why did he post it? And that Daniel Cormier is a little bit irritated, he seems. He's kind of using it as fuel, maybe to try to get into his head, saying, I'm going to target that eye, I'm going to elbow you in that eye. You should think about what you post. But I think he's also a little angry because why do you post that? Either you're the type of guy who tells everybody everything. You want the fans to know everything. But Jon ain't that kind of guy because he takes down half of his. So maybe you're the type of guy going, hey, look, if something goes wrong, look at all my adversity. I have all this adversity, and I still have to fight Daniel Cormier. And I think that might be what's bugging Cormier.
Jones is very much a tell me anything kind of guy. You are more of an ask me anything kind of guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm doing one of those on Reddit in the MMA section. I'm doing an ask me anything thread. And may God have mercy on my soul. I'm terrified. People are going to ask you anything. It's a really cool site. They do a lot of cool stuff on there, but I'm going to answer whatever they ask me.
Yeah, my favorite question I ever asked Robin when I first met him was, have you ever drank urine? Someone asked him that question. He can tell you that story. Let's move on over to October the 4th. We have a bit of a break right now, and I was looking at the schedule, Robin, and as of August 16th, we will have a UFC card every weekend through October the 4th. October the 4th, of course, being a great day where we get a show in Stockholm, Sweden, and Halifax, Nova Scotia. Another doubleheader, and Halifax will be headlined by Rory MacDonald and Saffiedine. I think win-win for Saffiedine. I'm stunned that he got this fight because Rory, to me, is right underneath Hendricks and Lawler. For Saffiedine, a guy who's had really one fight in the UFC in the last year and a half since coming over from Strikeforce, he has the ability to just vault himself to the top.
Yeah, that's a huge observation. I think you're bang on. It's a weird one in some ways. To get the opportunity, it's a tough one because you got to go, from where you were to suddenly fighting Rory MacDonald. But you're right, if you win it, I mean, like we were talking about 3 guys at the top, and now
he leapfrogs a ton of welterweights if you beat Rory MacDonald, who at this juncture, coming off the Woodley win, Damian Maia, I mean, Rory MacDonald, I don't believe has ever looked better than he does right now. And I think this is just a case of he doesn't want to wait for the winner of Lawler and Hendricks, which he could technically be in line for.
Yeah, I know, and I think they would go to him too. I mean, there's only been 2 shows in Canada this year. Vancouver that did not do well. They did a thing in Quebec City for the Tough Nations thing, which also didn't do well. So they need this to do well. In new territories, they do great. They need a main eventer. They need the Canadian main eventer. So, hey, Rory, can you really help us out here? We'll give you a guy that maybe there's a cut and dried way to do it. Rory's been showing great stand-up with Tyron Woodley. He backed him up to that track outside the cage and just worked him in that zone. He's looked really good on the feet. This is one maybe you put Saffiedine on his back and you go to work with that big, heavy top game. He's much bigger than Saffiedine. So maybe him and Froz are like, yeah, this this guy. We can definitely beat this guy.
As loaded as this welterweight division is right now, I really do look at Hendricks, Lawler, and Roy MacDonald. Those are the three real key players. And you look maybe 12 to 18 months from now, I mean, who do you see emerging from that? Is this for so long we've put that potential on Roy MacDonald, and he had some of those setbacks, but it just seems that right now he's firing on all cylinders right now, and it would not surprise me if when all the dust settles between these three and they have all the different matchups that it's Roy MacDonald holding that championship.
Maybe so. I mean, that's been the route. He's been that uncrowned champion, that, you know, heir apparent to George St. Pierre for years back there. But he's got a lot of pressure, and it's, you know, it's a tough one. You get handed a Tarek Saffiedine that you are expected to dominate and beat.
Absolutely.
And nobody does that to Tarek Saffiedine, so that's a huge assignment. Saffiedine likes to smash your legs up. He has certain problems that Rory hasn't faced. These are tough fights for guys to go in against a guy low down in the top 10, barely kind of thing, and face him. It's tough, but you get through it. If he does, and he looks good, you know Lawler versus Hendricks has to happen again. That's ready to go. And if Rory does as well as you think he will, and as well as he should be able to do, he'll be next in line. But if he doesn't, you're absolutely right. I mean, all of a sudden, we're all going to be talking about Tarek Saffiedine.
We have Phil Davis, Glover Teixeira earmarked for October the 25th, UFC 179. These are two interesting light heavyweights because Phil Davis, he's someone as well that at this point, this is a very important fight, I think, for Phil Davis coming off that Anthony Johnson loss. Glover Teixeira, I think he will be favored in this particular fight, but he is coming off that Jones loss. So these two, you know, the light heavyweight division is not the deepest of divisions at this point. A couple wins does really catapult you, but I think very important, especially here for Phil Davis, because a loss here, I don't know, the potential tag, again, has been on someone like Phil Davis.
Yeah, and he came to our party and hung out here. We got to know him. He's a very likable guy. You want him to do well. But, man, this is tough. You're right about the challenge, how hard this is going to be, you know, the timing for him. But we looked at him. Phil Davis is one of these guys. He's going to be in the top 5. He's going to be fighting for it. And he gets derailed, and now he's facing a guy better than him on the feet and hard to take down. You know, he was Chuck Liddell's training partner, and he worked his wrestling to be able to prevent people from taking Chuck down. He learned that game. It's a hard one for Phil Davis, you know, but a great fight.
Yeah, and interesting to see how Phil Davis comes back from such a devastating loss like he had with Anthony Johnson. We've got more Fight News Now Extra, so sit back and check it out.